and welcome to another video. Today we're gonna kind of do an update video on the channel. I want to go over a couple things that I'm changing with the channel as of June 2023. These are some things I've been thinking about behind the scenes for a while. Some changes that I've kind of wanted to make with the channel, and I've hesitated in doing so for a while, but at this point I feel like this is the right direction to take the channel in. So let's go ahead and let's get it out of the way. I'm not going to be doing full game reviews anymore. Last year I said that I was going to try to balance this by just buying less games, and yeah, I have done that, but I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be brutally honest. When I started this channel 6 years ago, I was working part-time at fucking GameStop. 20 to 25 hours a week. I had nothing but disposable time and income. Now I work a big boy 40-hour a week plus job. I have a mortgage, I have animals to take care of. You know, I have responsibilities that I did not have 6 years ago. So I don't have the time to crank out 60, 70, 80-hour games and get a review out. I don't get review codes ahead of time. I'm not one of those channels. I don't make any money at all off this channel. Like, zero money. I do this as a hobby. I do it as fun. And I'll be honest, I don't want to fall into the pattern I fell in last year with Elden Ring. So I'll lift the veil a little bit and just say, Elden Ring took me 2 months to get through to provide that review. By the time I put out the review for Elden Ring, it was the end of April. The game came out at the end of February. Yeah, I can give you the argument that, well, Elden Ring was still popular in April. If you want to be successful with reviews, you need to hit that first week, literally usually those first 2 or 3 days, or it's over. And I'm never going to be able to do that. Let's be fair. I don't get review codes ahead of time. I'm never going to be able to do that. It's not like sitting down watching a 2-3 hour movie and giving your thoughts. Completely different concept here. So from going forward, instead, what I'm going to offer on the games that I do pick up, that I do play, and what I'm calling first impressions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself about a week to play, discover, and then post a video about my first impressions of a game. Do I like this game? Do I think it's worth your time? Should you go out and spend X amount of money on it? Should you wait and rent it? You know, what should you do in this point? I think that is a better use of my time, my audience's time, than for me to try and sit here and grind out game after game after game and get a review shoved out. You know, and I'll be honest, the thing that really hit me hard with this was, you know, I had 3 big games in this next month and a half here. I have Zelda, which I've already put 60 hours into, and I'm not even anywhere close to done with that story. I have Diablo 4, which I just started playing last night, and then on the other side of that, I'll have Final Fantasy 16 in 2 weeks. Even with me scaling back and playing less games, unfortunately, I have this clusterfuck this year of these 3 games come out within weeks of each other. Now I'll have nothing after Final Fantasy 16 till August, I think, because then in August it's Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, which I am going to get. So yeah, it is what it is. But also by doing this, it allows me to return to something else that I'm passionate about coming back to, which is playing games in my ridiculous backlog and letting you know if it's something you should play or not. Kind of like mini reviews. It was a series that I called You Should Be Playing, that I had to abandon shortly after I started it because I was trying to play this catch-up game with all right, I'm gonna play this game review, I'm gonna play that game review. It's just not fucking possible anymore. So rather than sit here and keep pretending hey, I can do this, this is my full-time job. YouTube is not my full-time job. It never has been. It's just a hobby. It's never going to be my full-time job. Even if I all of a sudden spiked at the end of this week and now I have 100 million subscribers and everything, I wouldn't want YouTube to be my full-time job. I know the stress that comes with that. I don't want that, because then it's no longer a hobby. Going forward, and the first video for this will be out this week, I will be doing a Zelda first impressions. Now, I will also tell you guys, besides Zelda, most of my first impression videos are going to be me playing 15-20 hours of a game. Zelda is going to be a little bit unique because I made this decision while playing Zelda, so I have, at this time of this recording, put in about 60 hours. I finished one of the 4 main temples or dungeons, whatever you want to call them in this game. I've done probably 2 to 3 dozen of the shrines. I've uncovered the entire map. Like, I've done a lot in the game. But Zelda, much like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom is very much the same. Like, I just get stuck exploring, and I enjoy that aspect of the game. So we'll talk more about that later this week in my Zelda impressions video. And this also doesn't change at the end of the year when I do a top 10 favorite, games of the year video or any of those categories. I'm not changing any of that. So next up, I want to talk about streaming, because streaming is something I want to get back to. I just really haven't honestly had the time. And by the time I get done with work at night, if it's a night that my girlfriend is working overnight, I'm not really feeling like sitting here and setting up the Elgato to play a system online or play a PC game. I kind of just want to do my own thing. But I do recognize that it is something that my audience does like and appreciate. So I do want to get back to that. So right now, tentatively, I'm planning to do 3 streams this summer. This month, before the end of the month. I don't have a date yet. I will announce it when I'm ready to announce it. But this month, at some point, I want to sit down. I'm going to crack out my 360. And I want to take a look at I have 2 of the 3 Armored Core games that came out for 360 that I've never played. I've never touched these. The last Armored Core game I looked at was on PS1. And I'm really excited about Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. And I don't even know where to begin with this series. So I'm excited. I love mech shit, so I'm really excited to look at these. So we're going to be looking at Armored Core 4 and 5 for the 360. Sometime this month, that'll be a stream. In July, I want to look at Deadly Premonition 2. I do have it on Steam. I just really haven't spent that much time with it. It kind of was a game I was like, I'll get to it on the Steam Deck that I have, and I just have never had a chance. I'll be fully honest, that's going to be towards the end of July, because my time's going to be spent playing Final Fantasy 16, but that's the plan there. And then tentatively, I'll have a stream in August. I don't even know what that is yet, so we'll talk about that more when we get to it. But 3 streams planned this summer. Horror Fest, I'm still going to do it this year. It will be the same, like, scale back. I'm probably going to do 1 stream a week, and it's going to be one-offs like it was. There are 2 really big, good games coming out this October. One being Alan Wake 2, the other being the Alone in the Dark reboot. And I'm going to play both of those. So maybe I'll stream one of those. I don't know yet. We'll find out when we get there. I've talked about this for a while. I kind of mentioned it in my end of the year, beginning of the year update video. YouTube Shorts is something I've tried to grasp and figure out, what do I want to do? Do I even care about doing YouTube Shorts? And it's like, I've honestly never even tried to make one, but what I'm planning on doing, what I'm going to do just going forward, I still watch a lot of movies. I still go to a lot of movies. I am going to do a full, and this is part of this, but I am doing a full review of The Flash, mostly because that movie has fucking Michael Keaton Batman in it, and also Ben Affleck Batman, and supposedly a 3rd Batman that was kind of spoiled for me, but it's one of those, maybe he is, maybe he isn't in it. We'll find out when the movie comes out. But yeah, I am doing a full review of that because it's important for me and my audience to do a fucking review of that. Because, let's be fair, even though the movie's called The Flash, this is a fucking Batman movie. Let's get real about it. But I want to do shorts of movie reviews of not even just shit that I watch in the theater, but shit I watch on streaming. I watch a lot of movies when they come out on streaming, and I might as well give my opinion of them. So I figure I can do a minute short that way. So if you guys think this is a good idea or a bad idea, let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's a plan going forward, is to try and dabble with shorts. So I'm not going to do it with The Flash, but probably something else. So you probably will start seeing those pop up at some point before the end of June. Finally, with that all being said, the last thing I just kind of wanted to quickly address is nothing is changing with Podcast 572. We're all still having a blast doing it every 2 weeks. There was a big reason why it was delayed slightly this past week. I'll talk about that in a minute. But typically we get the podcast posted every other Saturday. We usually record on Friday night, depending on how I'm feeling by the time we get done recording, because it's late. Sometimes we get done recording, it's 11:30 midnight, and you're tired. Like, I'm tired. I've worked all day, and then I did this podcast, so I want to go to bed. But that's not always going to happen. So usually it's Saturday gets posted. So nothing is changing about the podcast. We're still going to continue to do it. I'm still trying to reel in. I've been reaching my hand out and dabbling and trying to get a few guests. So far, only been really successful on one. And more information will come out on that as we get closer to recording that episode. But still trying. I mean, we're still relatively a young and new podcast, and it's hard to pull in guests or people that give a fuck about being on your podcast or want to spend their time talking on your podcast unless they look at it and go, okay, this person has a lot of views, a lot of listens and stuff. And we do healthy enough in terms of the podcast services, like where we're at with our audience. We just don't really if you go off the YouTube numbers, I don't get that many hits on YouTube, but I honestly only post the podcast on the YouTube channel just so my audience has a place to go. Okay, I can listen to it here, or you can go on Spotify, Apple, wherever else podcasts are, and download it and listen to it that way as well. You do not have to listen to it on YouTube, but I just post it here so my audience has a chance to listen to it here as well. That being said, no changes. Last thing I'm going to talk about here, and I'm just going to briefly mention it, and try to do it as quickly as possible. I did post about this. I did kind of mention it, I think, on Twitter. You guys know on the channel, we own cats. we own. I have a dog. We were actually up to 4 cats. I don't think I even talked about that, honestly, but unfortunately, you guys have seen Frankie in some of the videos that I've done. I think most recently, when I did a review of Stray last year, I talked about Frankie. I talked about how big of an impact that game had for me, knowing at that time that Frankie's time was winding down because of his illnesses. Now, thankfully, he did beat cancer, but he had 2 problems. The other problem was renal failure, and unfortunately, after beating cancer, the renal failure really ramped up, and this past week we had to basically say our goodbyes and lay him to rest. It's hard. Like, it's really hard to make that decision. Like, my girlfriend is a vet tech at a very prominent veterinarian hospital in the area, so she's a lot more versed in that stuff than I am. And she was kind of, she's been warning me the last month or so, like, we're getting really close to this. And unfortunately, last week that it came to a head where it's like, we really need to just make this decision, what's best for him. And the positive thing I'll say about it is we were lucky enough to give him a final day. So we were able to bring him home. I'll be honest, we spent most of that day sitting outside because he loved to sit outside. He loved to sit on your lap outside. He liked to explore, but he was at the point where he couldn't do it anymore. But he got good food. He got chicken. He got some ice cream and stuff. It was a nice way to kind of say goodbye, but very very challenging, very hard. Unfortunately, he's passed, and it sucks. It's a huge blow to both my girlfriend and I, because we got him at the same time that we got Alucard and Shinoa, my other cat, and now we're down to just Shinoa as the original from that lot. I have my other cat, Sifa. I got 2021, right after Alucard died. And then I haven't actually talked about this at all. I'll bring it up too. This past April, so a couple months ago, we actually got the opportunity to take in another cat that was running around outside my girlfriend's parents' house and clearly needed a home. It was a cat that was dumped. This cat's probably about 1 year old. So she's been with us since April. We had to get her spayed and all that stuff, and she's all clear now. She's still kind of getting adjusted to our house and everything, but her name is Alvina. So I'm sure at some point, maybe in one of my videos, if I have the door open, you'll see her wander in. But it's been fantastic and humbling to be able to do that and bring in another animal that needed a good home. So it's just, you know, losing Frankie really hard. Really hard. It's always hard losing an animal, especially for me. This was actually hard. I don't want to say it was harder than Alucard. They're completely different situations. Alucard, you know, unfortunately he was 19. We at least gave him a last couple good years of his life. The situation with Frankie that sucks is that, given his past and the shelter he came from that did not do a good job of fixing some prior illnesses he had when he was younger, he probably would have lived longer than he did, because he was not a particularly old cat. He was not a young spring chicken either, but he wasn't particularly old. So situation just sucks all around, but I don't want to take up any more time of it. You know, that is what it is. So those are the updates that are coming to the channel. You'll see a Zelda impressions video very soon here on the channel. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.